Coach, just overall, this Old Dominion team seems like they've got a similar defensive style to UAB. Just to have that in back-to-back weeks, where do you sort of see those similarities, and how do you prep for that?
Yeah, very similar schematically. Both good up front. Again, as you saw last week, we had a huge challenge ahead of us. We did enough on offense to win. Obviously didn't play very well, but did enough to win. We'll have another challenge ahead of us this week. This is a good defensive football team. They don't give much up in the run game at all. So we're going to have to, A, be creative, and B, go out there and play a lot better than we played this week.
I know that Coach said that you guys were able to use a lot more four wide, and you used Ty more in the run game too. I mean, how much do you maybe look to doing that again this week, just sort of using him in multiple ways?
Well, I don't think you want to run your quarterback 12, 15 times a game. Especially an athletic guy, they're going to create their own hits and scrambling and those type of things. But at the end of the day, we got to do what we got to do to win the football game. Obviously with a crowded box last week and some exceptional talent on the defensive front that we faced, we thought that was one way we were going to have to manufacture some yards. And last week getting 3, 4, 5 yard runs were positive for us, and we'll have to find a way to do that again. If it takes 12 to 15 runs by the quarterback, then that's what we'll have to do. We'd like to not have to do that, but at the end of the day, we got to find a way to win a football game.
There were a couple of times when Ty was running where he would go, head shoulder first, leaning in to get more yards. Do you see that as just being aggressive, or do you want him to slide a little bit more in some of those instances?
We had a very short conversation about that involved don't ever do that again.
Okay.
So yeah, it was quite frank, and I'd like to keep watching him play out there, but if he continues to do that, he won't get to play much longer because he's going to get himself hurt. I appreciate his toughness. I appreciate his physicalness. I appreciate his willingness as a runner. But at the end of the day, we got a long season ahead of us, and you create those type of things week in, week out. It's not going to end well for you. So, yeah, he got to learn how to slide. He's got to learn how to protect himself. You got to learn as a quarterback. You get all you can get, and you get out. And when it's 3rd and 1 or 4th down or something where you got to go find a way to get the first down, then yeah, I get it. But on 1st and 10, let's take our 4 instead of fighting for 4.5.
And first 2 games of the season, Gage Walker came out to back-to-back really good performance. The last 2 games, I don't want to say he's disappeared, but in terms of just what you were looking at with Louisville and UAB, maybe just not the best defense to try to run him against. And you're looking at a similar front in ODU. They're strong up front. Is there anything that you're looking at to try to get Gage going again so that you can take some of that pressure off of Ty in the run game and in the pass game too?
Yeah, absolutely. I disagree with you a little bit of the fact that he's disappeared. He's played damn near every snap of the game. There's a lot more to playing running back than just running the football. He's done some nice things the last 2 weeks in the pass game and in pass protection. And you saw him last week. He's the lead blocker a lot of times for Ty. So disappearing may be a bad word, but do we need to get him more productive in the run game? Absolutely. I think that there's more to that than just him. We got to get the tight ends going in the run game. We got to get them to win their blocks, and then we got to get the O-line going. We got to play a lot better up front, and I think they will. I think they'll, the coaching they'll get this week will get them a lot better, and hopefully we'll go out and have a lot better week.
Is there anything that you've seen in the film from that UAB game that stands out about the offensive line? Because early, those first 2 games, and even that U of L game, they had been really, really good. Coach Helton had talked about them, and then specifically, I think that was one of his chief concerns offensively coming out of that UAB game.
Well, too many penalties, too many bonehead mistakes. I think they got caught up in the game as far as the trash talk that was going on up there. And instead of worrying about what we had to do, they were worrying about getting after a certain person. And, you got to keep your cool. You got to keep your head. At the end of the day, the most important thing is you walk over to that other team at the end of the game knowing you won the football game. That's what'll shut them up the fastest. And you get in those battles and those talking crap battles, and you lose your cool, and we can't have that. And I think that led to some really dumb penalties. And you talk about us being inside the 5-yard line twice and not getting points out of it, not getting a touchdown, and because we did stupid things. We got stupid penalties down there when we didn't need to, and we have to clean that up, and that's on us as coaches. There's an old saying in coaching: you're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. And I can promise you, we're not coaching them to do stupid penalties. So at this point, they think that that's okay, and they will learn very quickly that it's not.
Speaking of the O-line, you have 2 redshirt seniors in Miles Pate and Parker Howell. How important is it to have those guys as leaders on the offensive line? What have they shown you this year?
Well, they are really important. I think that they've they've both gotten to play a lot of football around here, which is good. You know, experience is invaluable. You know, Miles doesn't say a whole lot, but I think he works his butt off. You know, he plays hard at times. You know, I'll be honest, I'd like to see a little more out of him. You know, you talk about a fifth-year senior, you got to realize this is it, man. This is the last ride. And, you know, how do you want to go out? How do you want to be remembered? You're really only remembered by your last year. It doesn't matter what you do before. You'll be remembered. Your legacy will be remembered by your senior year. And we got to get more out of those guys, and we got to get more out of that whole group. Yep.